Although the environment of this small workshop is simple and the equipment they use is all low-end, the masters of Pakistan can flexibly use the discarded scraps to make exquisite stone and wood clocks in this environment. How did they do it? This red brick factory building in Peshawar is the first small workshop to make stone and wood clocks. In order to make it into an exquisite clock, the master will first mark the wooden board with reference to the mold. Since these wooden boards need to be spliced later, the master only, the marked wooden boards will be then carefully selected by the master and spliced together. In order to facilitate the subsequent splicing, the master will use a grinder to grind the wooden boards until they are flat and smooth. In this way, the subsequent master will use a grinder to grind the wooden boards until they are flat and smooth. Although the glue looks simple, it is very effective. It can stick airplanes and cannons. Thank you for your attention again. The special mold is used to limit the position. It is spliced into a disc shape after the glue is gradually dried. Because the thickness of the wood board is not standard, the masters need to use a polishing machine to polish the wood board carefully and shape all the curvatures to be consistent. At this time, the appearance of the wood board is not standard, so the masters can use traditional lathes to cut the wood board. The cutting process requires experienced masters to carry out because of the control of the appearance and the cutting depth. The master will first cut. In order to improve the beauty of the watch, the master will also cut it into two halves and use the lathe to carefully trim the internal wood board. Then it can be bonded with special glue. In this process, in order to improve the firmness, the masters also need to use medium-sized stones to apply pressure. These firmly bonded dials, the master also aims to improve the beauty of the dial. In order to facilitate the subsequent decoration of the dial around the exquisite video, the master will use the electric drill to open a medium-sized round hole on the outer diameter of the dial by feeling. Then, in the subsequent assembly process, the master can install the exquisitely made small cylinder. This process is relatively simple. In the process, only the wooden board is knocked back and forth. Some small cylinders have been installed very quickly. In order to continue decorating the dial, they will cut these wooden strips into small pieces of moderate size. Then the subsequent masters can use glue to glue them to the dial so that the dial has a little more decoration and makes it more beautiful and regular. In order to make the dial smooth enough, the masters will use fine sandpaper to carefully polish the surface. After ensuring that there are no problems, they can then soak it in a layer of paint. This can not only improve the anti-corrosion ability of the dial, but also improve the aesthetics. Some dials are naturally dried. The polishing machine carefully polishes the surface and then brushes a layer of bright oil on the surface. This is only to improve the brightness and aesthetics of the dial. Although the dials they rub by hand are all solid wood, the styles are still varied. In the final assembly process, the experienced masters will use glue to fix the appropriate scale lines and then carefully install the pointer. When fixing the external glass, in order to facilitate subsequent maintenance, the master will use screws to tighten it. A solid wood clock. After the masters carefully crafted it, all kinds of clocks were ready. How do you think the master's craftsmanship is? If it is out of 10, how many points would you give?